environment and actually start to polish up some of your interview skills, your resume skills. So that way, if you do ever need to apply in the future, once things kind of settle down after the movement control order is done, you're ready to go.
Nice. So let's actually start there with resume, right? What is your thought about resumes? Like, what makes a good resume good, and how should someone tackle that like daunting task of putting together, 1 page or 2 pages about them when they don't really know what the employers are looking for?
That's a great question. And I think a lot of times when people are approaching resumes, they already are like, okay, I have to have this like 1 page, has to be beautiful. They're just going to jump right into it. But I actually think that the preparation that you do beforehand sets you up so much when it comes to success later on. So one of the first things that I like to advise people to do before they even start making the resume for applying to a job is actually to create a master CV. What is this master CV? It's basically, it can be a Google Doc or Word doc, whatever, that just lists out every single job that you've ever had or every product that you've ever been in. These aren't meant to be put on your final resume. It's just to kind of brainstorm every single opportunity that you've been in. So that way you can really think about, okay, in this particular experience, what did I do? What did I achieve? What did I learn? And then you move on to the next one. What did I do? What did I achieve? What did I learned? And that way you can also start to kind of group similar experiences or like, relevant like positions together. Because you never know, like, maybe you start in accounting, right? And you have a lot of accounting experiences, but maybe eventually you might have to make a change to a different industry because, they're just not hiring so much anymore. So when you have that master CV that has a variety of different skills or projects that you've worked on, you can then draw that into a future resume. So I recommend starting with that first, just to get everything out of your brain. So that way you know what you have to work with. And then once you've created that master CV, that's when you can actually start to look at the jobs that you're wanting to apply to. So if you're wanting to, apply to a particular role, let's say, could be something like one thing we often recruit for in Mindvalley is customer success. So you're wanting to apply for a customer success position. You can actually go online and find some sample job descriptions of some of the companies that you're looking for or in that particular role, and actually pull them out and see what are the common things that they're looking for in terms of the skill sets or the requirements. And one little tip that I actually like to use a lot when I'm applying to jobs is you can even copy paste that job description and put it into a word cloud. You guys know what a word cloud is, right? Where
let's just start from assume they don't know what it is. Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so there's online programs that you can Google search, like Word Cloud. And these are basically programs where you copy and paste text into this program, and then it'll spit out like a visual representation of all the words that you copied into it. And the words that appear most often, they'll be bigger words. So like, for example, if you were to do this with a job description, you can copy paste the job description from the company website, put it into this Word Cloud program. And then the words that are the biggest, those are the words that okay, these are the ones that are repeated the most. I need to make sure that my resume is including those words inside. And you can even do a word cloud of the job description itself, and then a word cloud of your resume, and see are the same words popping out most often? If it is, great, I'm on the right track. But if totally different words are showing up, maybe this isn't quite tailored to the job description as much as I would like. This is so important because, first of all, if a recruiter is looking at your resume, I hate to say it, but usually we only spend 5 seconds or so looking at each resume.
No, I think we should actually dig deeper into that, though, right? People are not aware of something of that scenario, right? And I think they're like, oh yeah, I've spent hours on this. This person's going to take all the time in the world to make sure they're going through it. But tell us the reality. Why is that the case?
Yeah. The reality.
How do we mesmerize you, right? Ultimately, for you to pick us. Right?
Yeah. The reality is usually when I'm ready to start screening through resumes, I'm having to look through at least like 50 some resumes sometimes for a particular position, sometimes in the hundreds. So I really don't have a lot of time because I have to start moving towards actually scheduling interviews with promising candidates. So I usually spend 5 seconds skimming through a resume. And if I don't see like the keywords that I'm looking for within those 5 seconds, I'm immediately rejecting. Or like if it already seems like this person's totally off the mark, already rejecting. If the resume is structured in a way that I can't even really read it, or like it's illegible, or it's in like really weird colors that hurt my eyes, I'm rejecting it because I just don't have enough time to spend like, analyzing each individual sentence. So that's why it's really great to use tools like this word cloud thing. So that way you can know what are like the key words that are popping out a lot and sprinkle them into your resume constantly, like wherever you can. Yeah, so that's what I would recommend. And even if like, at Mindvalley, we have recruiters that scan the resumes, but there are even some companies that are bigger that they don't even have recruiters looking at resumes in the first step. They're actually automating it through like software and through like AI programs. So it's the same thing. Like the AI programs, they'll be scanning through your resume, and if they don't see the keywords, they reject. So that's why it's so important to like actually go through the job description and make sure that you're tailoring your resume to whatever is in the job description.
So that means one of the key things that AI looks for is like almost like the keywords, right?
Yes.
That's really good to know. Okay, so let's say they've done that step of they put the word cloud of the job description, they compare it to the resume, and they feel like it's a pretty healthy, it's representative, right? What then? Like, are they ready to just submit it right away, or is there anything else that you would suggest them do differently?
So apart from making sure that you have the keywords, one thing I also like to say to make your resume really sexy and to really sell yourself more to the recruiters is you want to make sure that your resume is not reading like a laundry list, right? You don't want to just be bullet points like, oh, I worked at a restaurant, I waited tables, I cleaned tables, and then I also took orders. Like that's kind of boring, and that doesn't really tell me like what you actually bring to the table. So as much as possible, you want to actually go through each experience and really elaborate more on what was it that you like achieved, what did you contribute, like really being very specific about like what you brought to the table at every experience. So rather than just like, if you were at a restaurant, I waited tables, you can be like, I like increased customer satisfaction by like bringing like in, a personal touch in every interaction, like something like that. Or like, I achieved like, I won employee of the month twice in a row because I always had like the highest amount of like employee or like good feedback whenever like we ended the week. Whatever it is that you achieved, you really want to highlight that. And if maybe, let's say, you're a little bit newer in your work and maybe you don't have as many like key achievements, you can also emphasize things that you learned. Maybe at that restaurant job, you might not have done a whole lot and it seems like it's not that impressive, but something you learned was, like interpersonal skills. I learned interpersonal skills because I was constantly having to interact with clients, or like I learned how to think on my feet and be like really able to work in a fast-paced environment. So those are ways that you can kind of like still flesh out your experiences a little bit more and make them sound a little bit sexier, rather than just like very like plain bullet points of like your key tasks that you had to do every week that might not be as relevant to the new role. Yeah, and otherwise, I think things that also make the resume really stand out and really seem sexy is when you can incorporate numbers into it a little bit more. So numbers in terms of like, really quantifying what did you do? Like, if you were in sales, I did an average of like 60 sales calls every week. Or like I achieved like a a 36% increase in the revenue for my team as a result of my efforts, whatever it is, like the more you can really quantify that, that really shows to a recruiter like, hey, wow, like this person is a high achiever, look at the results that they bring. And also because there are numbers, it kind of forces the recruiter to slow down a little bit in their reading speed because it changes it up. So yeah, those are some things I would recommend.
Interesting. So I think that is really about selling yourself, right? Like being all sexy and interesting. And, I hate to say this, but, like Asians being Asians, this element of being like humble and, it's kind of embedded within the society. I'm not representing everybody. I'm not saying this is everyone, but this is kind of where I kind of feel it, So how do we then manage this? Like, I want to sound all sexy and selling myself and still kind of retain that humility, or, does that work for you, or how do we kind of manage that?
I think it's okay to be humble maybe in the interview itself, but again, remember in the resume, the recruiter possibly only has 5 seconds that they're looking at the resume. So you really want to make sure that you're catching their attention quick. And then when you're actually talking to them face to face or on a phone call, then you can be, a little bit more humble, slightly. But your resume is really like your first chance to like really get your foot in the door. So you want to make sure that you're just like, not holding back at all. And even if you feel kind of shy, like just remember, this isn't about like, being humble, being shy. We just want to know, like, what have you done in the past? What are you good at? So that way we can see, are you a good fit for this potential role? Or at least do you have potential for it? So help us figure out if you're a good fit by really selling yourself and putting yourself out there.
So what if this person, just graduate or is in university or is just graduating, doesn't actually really have any experiences like that to talk about, right? What can they do? Because they're kind of stuck in that position where a lot of companies are like, oh yeah, you don't have relevant or work experience, and then they're like, well, no one's willing to give me that work experience for me to write about. So how do they break out of that cycle?
That's a great question. So here are like a few like things that I sometimes recommend like fresh grads to put in the resume or to think about including in the resume to flesh it out a little bit more. First of all, like if you do have any like internship or part-time job experience, even if it's something as simple as like working in a restaurant, like there's no shame in that. We understand that you just graduated, but at least that you had some sort of work experience. And again, like, making sure that you spin in a way that you're not just bullet point listing like the basic task, but you're including what you learned. That can help you out a lot. You can also include projects that you worked on in the university, like major collaborative team projects that you had to deliver, or final theses. I've seen that a lot when I'm screening through resumes, and that also can be quite relevant depending on whatever you're applying to.
Hey, this is CS from More Money Malaysia. We are a platform dedicated to helping Malaysians like you make smart financial decisions. And the way we do that is through providing you with actionable advice, such as the video you just saw, right? But we're not here just to become your intellectual entertainment. We really do want to see you succeed, because we want to see you live that ultimate life that you've always dreamt of, right? And in order for us to do that, what we've decided to do is we want to help make it easier for you by providing different types of rewards throughout the months. So make sure you check out the description below, click on that link and see what type of reward you might be able to qualify for by taking action right now. And if you have any other questions about any of this, feel free to contact us wherever you find us. Take care.